This video is sponsored by WWII Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution, featuring the Orion hull test, current and future configurations.
Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well. It is late October 2021 and the latest patch for DCS Open Beta has come out. Version 2.7.7.14727 and it is a big one, so please sit down with a coffee and tea and we'll go through it bit by bit. Of all the hundreds and hundreds of things that have changed, I've picked out the things that I think most of you need to know, and that's what we're going to go over today and demonstrate. The way this works is everything that's in a red box in front of you will go over in a separate video because they're more complex, which I will link from the video description of this video in the next few days once they've been made. Everything else we're going to go through now. So first, General DCS. New, added CV-59 Forrestal aircraft carrier, an accurate and realistic representation of the 80s era Forrestal. Currently with standard DCS carrier capabilities, and look at it, she's an absolute beauty. And interestingly, this is the first carrier in history to be designed with and built with steam catapults, angled deck, an optical landing system, you can call it the meatball. And originally it was designed to have the entire island in the middle with the 59 written on it to come down on hydraulics to disappear below the deck. Obviously that wasn't possible, so it never actually happened. The DCS version includes a highly detailed and accurate visual model. Obviously model with the catapults and the arresting wires, elevators and parking for the AI aircraft, 12 aircraft parking slots and 4 catapult slots, phalanx and sea sparrow self-defense, night lighting in various running modes. We also have associated static objects that we can use, the Ister-60 forklift, a large forklift, an early mule and a tilly, whatever a tilly is. Known issues at the moment are the ship currently lacks a visual damage model, obviously. That will be added. Next, the way in which the AIM-120 AMRAAM works has changed. It has received a separate inertial navigation system with data link support. The missile seeker model has been completely revised. The radar dish now uses a realistically gyro-stabilized gimbal that is controlled by the INS before target lock. An active missile seeker, like that in the AIM-120, will have its detection and tracking lock range based on physical calculations of noise and target signal ratio, which in turn depends on target radar cross-section or ECM power and range, or both. Target search and tracking is based on Doppler velocity filtering, introduce realistic velocity gate, and the radar will search for a target near the target reference velocity provided by the INS. The guidance law was also updated. Missile seekers have received Kalman filters that estimate target motion parameters. The new guidance law accounts for target normal to LOS accelerations, possible target G-load growth rate, compensate for missile X-axis acceleration and missile control system latency. If you're anything like me, most of that doesn't make any sense. What they're saying is they've made the AMRAAM, how it works, how it seeks, how it detects and how it tracks, much more realistic in DCS. What's that going to mean for most of us? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? Well, the answer is I don't know. We're going to have to do several weeks of testing and to get a good feel for exactly what the differences are. It is good that it's more realistic because things like jammers will have more of an effect. RCS will have more of an effect. In a few weeks, we'll do a proper test and see what really has changed, but it's interesting. Mission Editor added indication of sun and moon phases, added a slider to quickly set the time of day. In the Persian Gulf now, if we click on this icon here, date, time and weather, we've got the old format of being able to change the date here, the month, the year, the time of day, hours, minutes, seconds, that's always been there, but we've now also got an analog bar that we can scroll through the day. We can also minus an hour, plus an hour, and this allows us to go off the bottom of the day and through to the previous day. And the really cool thing is we can determine the positions of the sun and the moon at any time in any day in history and in the future, which is super cool. So for instance, we're in the 19th of June 2016. Let's go back to the beginning of the day, the beginning of the sun coming up, sunrise. We can see that the sun is rising at an azimuth of 064.4. This here is its elevation, so 0 would be it's just on the horizon, 90 would mean it's up at its absolute maximum, and then down again, and setting around 294 degrees, at which point the moon comes up. We know the exact time of sunrise. It's here, it's 5:25:25 at azimuth 06 3.3. Sunset is that time there, and that azimuth there. This is the point in MGRS at which this can all be viewed from, and it's just a really interesting tool to play around with, and will certainly help when you're trying to get the lighting right in your videos, like a lot of us have to do. Mission Editor. The Draw tool has been added to annotate missions created in the Mission Editor. This includes lines, polygons, text, and icons. We've got a blue guy here and a red guy here, both client aircraft. Let's just make some stuff up to show you this as quickly as possible. Red aircraft are not allowed to fly in Oman, so we've got to put a no-fly zone annotation there. Draw tool is there. Symbology up here. Do we want to select an existing object, or do we want to create a line, a polygon, a text box, or a pre-made icon? This stuff here is a bunch of parameters regarding these things that we can make. When we make anything, we will apply it to layers. Do we want to apply it to author layer, common layer, neutral layer, blue layer, red layer? So if you want just the red coalition to be able to see this thing, make it on the red layer. Blue, blue layer. Neutral, neutral layer. If you want just the mission author to see the annotation, author. Do you want everyone to be able to see the annotation? Common. Here is an object list, which is unpopulated at the moment. So, first of all, let's create an object for Oman. How about a polygon? Circle, oval, rectangle, free, or arrow. Well, oval looks about the right shape. Left click, drag. There we go. We can change the sizes of it using these boxes here. These little white boxes at any point. Do we want to change the name of it? I don't know. Red. No fly. It's not super important, but we can do that. At which angle do we want it to be? There we go. Let's change the angle in, presumably that's in degrees. Do you want to change the colour of the line? Yes, I want it to be that colour. The thickness of the line. Smaller? Larger? The type of the line. Solid or dashed or triangled? Whatever you want. The fill colour. I want it to be, I don't know, that colour there. Next, I want to create a text box with some text in. Text box, click it in there just as quickly as possible. What does it want to say in the text box? Red, no fly zone. All sorts of parameters we can change regarding it, but we're not going to bother. You get the idea there. We can now change the layer. So, change layer, red. Change layer, red. They now belong to the red layers. Do we want to hide them in the mission editor here? Next, regards whichever we have selected at the moment, do we want to hide them on the F10 map to any particular type of viewer? So it gives us a bit more resolution about who we can stop seeing this. Well, I don't want observers of the neutral coalition and the blue coalition from seeing this particular item. So that just gives us a bit more control of which type of unit cannot see this. Okay, so far Oman is got its annotation and it's on the red layer. Now let's make something on the common layer, shall we? So make sure we've got common selected there. Let's go make a line. Multiple segment, a single segment line, or free draw. Let's do multiple segments around Siri Island. Left, just lots of left clicks basically. There you go, whatever that is, that's a thing there. And we want to name this common thing with the colour of that. And you've seen all this stuff before already, so we won't go any further. The important thing is that this line, terminate that with escape, has been created on the common layer here. How about one more thing? How about an author specific notation here with just another line segment there. There we go. Next I want to show that even after the items have been drawn, we can go back and edit them. So draw, select that one there, or we could select it through these guys here. But I'm going to select it through that one there. Well, we can go and modify it like that, or we can press delete and it's gone. Let's go back and do this one. I can either select it through this one here, or just by clicking on it there. Well, I want to edit it and change it like that, or change its parameters, or change its, you know, whatever else. So that's how we go back and edit something. Okay, that's all the rough idea shown here. Now if we went into actual game, remember, common layer, red layer. Spectators, F10. Spectators can only see the things that are on the common layer, which is that there. Now let's go and be a red guy, red coalition. A10, F10. Reds can see everything that's on the common layer and everything that's on the red layer. So that's how that works. Now, what if this is getting in the way of my mission and I don't want to see this? We'll just click on that item there. I can remove them temporarily or hide them, and I can put them back on. That shows you the rough idea in 2 minutes of how to create different items, apply them to a certain layer, or change their layer, selectively hide them to different types of viewer, roughly how the layers work, how I can turn them on and off, how I can select them, and how I can delete them or manipulate them. CBU 8797, 103 and 105, the fuse will only work when decreasing the CBU's flight altitude. This will allow for the use of the CBUs while tossing from a low altitude. We're in an F-16 now. We've got 2 CBU 87 cluster bombs here. We're going to drop the bombs, essentially, from lower than the burst altitude of 1,500 feet, and they're now set so that they will only detonate or separate or fuse when they are going past the burst altitude of 1,500 feet when coming downwards. They will not separate or fuse when they're going past the burst altitude upwards, if that makes sense. So what that means is we can toss it from low. It will happily go through the burst altitude upwards without being set off, and it will only be set off when it comes down through the burst altitude. Let's show you an example of that. So if I can remember how to do it, blah, 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 air to ground, CC, RP, let's pair them out, let's go. Burst altitude set to 1,500, obviously there. Push and hold, up we go. Bombs away. Well, I'm still alive, so they haven't fused, but watch what happens when they come down now through the burst altitude or whatever it was. Please. Yes, so there they go, 1,500 feet, and they explode. So, ooh, look at that. Basically, we can now toss from low upwards. Mission Editor added the set of default options in the first waypoint in tasks, all the different tasks there. So previous to this patch, when we created an aircraft group and placed it down on the mission, regards the first waypoint, I guess you can call it a waypoint 0 or a starting waypoint, if we selected it and went into advanced here, waypoint actions, there will be nothing associated with it other than maybe, this, for instance, this guy here. It will be empty, a blank sheet. That's changed now. If we create a new aircraft group, add new aircraft group, if we make it, well, let's just say an A10, that's fine. If we change the task to whatever, in this case, CAS is fine. We place the aircraft down. We can see that the first waypoint, waypoint 0, has populated with a whole bunch of default stuff. The particular default stuff will be different depending on which task we've set. So for instance, this one we've placed down, reaction to threat would be evade fire only. Radar using would be for attack only. Formation would be to open at that particular type of formation in trail, and it tailors these to suit the type of task. Restrict jettison on, so it can't jettison its weapons, for instance. Something to do with radio, I can't remember how that one works. Do not report a waypoint when they pass it, and so on. So just bear in mind now that as soon as you put an air group down, it will automatically populate the advanced waypoint actions on the first waypoint for you, and you need to keep an eye out for that. Mission Editor added separate default options for planes and helicopters. Default options for helicopters will be added later. As it says, even if the task is the same, you will have a separate set of commands here if it's an airplane to if it's a helicopter, and the helicopter ones will be added soon. Electro-optics sensors. EO IRST. The lock range of the missile as target will depend on motor phase and overall IR signature of the missile. This means that if, for instance, you are in a flanker here and you're using your EO electro-optical sensor, which is this gizmo here, or you could be in an aircraft like a Hornet or an F-16, you could be using the sensor on the front of your air-to-air infrared missile, like the Sidewinder, and you were aiming it at another missile that's already in the air, whether that's an air-to-air missile or air-to-ground missile, cruise missile, whatever. The difficulty in locking that missile up, if you wanted to shoot that missile down, will now depend on the state of that missile that you want to fire at. So if you're trying to shoot down a missile that's got its rocket motor still running, it will be much easier to lock. If you're trying to shoot the same missile, once its rocket burn has finished and it's no longer burning, it will be much harder to lock because it's generating less heat. Mission Editor added advanced waypoint option to force AIs to attack regardless of the chance of success. Now this is a really interesting one. You may have noticed in your missions that some of your AI planes are just plain chicken. You ask them to go and attack something and they say, nope, I can't do it. It's too hard and I'm going to run away and ignore you. Very frustrating. Well, now we have the option of overriding them and giving them essentially bigger balls. So we have a typical mismatch here. We've got a Hawk SAM there. That's a very potent SAM site. Here attacking it is a Yak-52 training aircraft. Well, I can now force him to attack. I can go ping, starting point, add advanced waypoint options, perform task, attack group, attack ground 2 with smoke rockets. He's going to try and destroy it with smoke rockets. Now, usually what would happen if you tried this, he would just ignore you and fly home. Not anymore. Now, I'm going to apply to that an extra option. It's here, it's set option. It's all the way down here. Override AI attack avoidance decisions. Basically, take away all of his fear. On. So if he tries to say, no, I won't attack it, tough. It's like being a Soviet, basically. If you try and retreat, you'll get shot anyway, so you might as well just do the attack. Bombs will arm 2 seconds after release. This will eliminate the possibility of detonation under the aircraft in some cases. This is to stop lag destroy you. So if you drop a bomb and you're a bit laggy and you desync from the bomb slightly in multiplayer, it tends to just blow you up, which is annoying and there's nothing that can be done about it. So in this case, it's got a 2-second wait before it's going to blow you up. Mission Editor added field artillery tactical signs for NATO and Russian coalitions. We've got here the selection of NATO signs. I don't know anything about this type of warfare, but you can see towed howitzer, light recon, armour, armoured cavalry and so on. Well, in game I've got the NATO symbols on at the moment. I've got 4 different types of artillery that I've selected. Others are available. And you can see they've got the different corresponding signs here and in the F10 menu in game. Mission Editor. All liveries will now be available to Joint Task Force Red and Blue. This is a really useful feature and has bugged me for ages. So previously, if you had an aircraft here, it was a part of a nation coalition, then you would only be able to select the liveries from that realistic nation. So all these ones are Russian, presumably. And if it was a Ukrainian flanker, then it would only be able to select Ukrainian liveries. Now that makes making missions very difficult, annoying and tiresome. Now, if you go to Combined Joint Task Force Blue or Red, so let's do blue here, we get to select any of the liveries from any of the nations. So we can choose ones from Russia, Ukraine, wherever. It's just a much easier way of making a mission. Mission Editor. Clients could spawn on Occupy Parking Fixed. It's a really important fix. If you're a big mass multiplayer like me, there was just an annoying bug where after so many spawns of mass multiplayer, you'd actually start spawning on top and inside of other people, and the whole thing would come to a grinding halt. Apparently, now fixed. Mosquito FB Mark 6. Engine sounds update. And added kneeboard images. Right shift kilo. Ta-da! Mozzie. Mozzie, 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 Mozzie. Focke-Wulf 190A8 Anton. Werfer Granada 21 is now fired in salvo only and reworked the jettison. In our Anton now, equipped with 2 times Werfer Granada 21 aerial rockets. If you want to fire them, master arm on, rockets on, press bomb release B2. Both come off at the same time. If we want to drop the canisters, dropped. F-16C Viper, we've got air-to-ground radar modes, the first adding of, bullseye and helmet-mounted display pages, which we'll go through in 2 or 3 separate videos. The Hornet completed auto throttle approach mode. I've already done a video on this a few months ago because it was more or less working back then, and I'll link it in the video description. Mi-24P Hind, really important. We've got a new weapon, the AT-9 Attacker, which comes in 3 variants, including the air-to-air variant for shooting down other helicopters and whatnot. We're going to go through all this all in a separate video. KM2 magnetic declination system compensation implemented. So if we enter the Hind, we can see the KM2 magnetic variation or declination compensator in the front cockpit, the operator's cockpit, is now working. It's this guy down here. Now, we've got the deflection here, presumably in degrees. None of this is in the manual, so we're, as usual, working it out ourselves. It can be positive or negative. And if we drag this onto the screen, this is my handy little thing I keep for the maps that I use in DCS. So for instance, we're in Persian Gulf now, where to go from a magnetic north to a true north, we apply a -2 degrees to it. Now I'm assuming that that is what we're compensating from here, from magnetic to true. If it's true to magnetic, it'll be the other way around. But again, I'm just having to guess because it's not in the manual. So if I'm correct, in this case, we are going to adjust this to -2 degrees declination. Petrovich AI added mission editor option for limiting air targets tracking ability. Because we now have our first anti-air weapons with the Hind, we now need to decide whether Petrovich is going to track air targets or not. So click on our helicopter there, click on this guy here, additional properties. Do you want him to track air targets? Yes or no? Added external nose, angle of attack vanes, animation and effect. Added cockpit shake implemented. Added pilot operator PKI aiming sight implementation. Going through to the operator's seat, we have the PKI locked in position, the PKI unlocked, and using the mouse scroll wheel, which can take a little bit of time, but just be patient. Ta-da! PKI sight for the operator. Relock. Done. Added main cannon shell casings animation. Added horizontal stabilizer animation. AV-8B Harrier. New gun options. Station 4A. Pods. 3 options of GAU-12. This is a 25mm rotary cannon. Either M79 ammo, that's armor piercing for medium to heavy armor. High explosive M792 for very light armor or infantry. And semi-armor piercing high explosive incendiary with tracer for medium armor. JF-17 by Decker. A series of changes to the air-to-ground modes. First, we now have a freeze function on the air-to-ground radar. So, air-to-ground button. This brings up the air-to-ground radar, which is now refreshing and populating. If you want to freeze the image, just like in the Hornet, freeze. This is modal, so it will stay frozen until you turn it off. And now it will start refreshing again. Next, we're supposed to have a SPI marker in the air-to-ground radar. Doesn't appear to work for me. Let me prove it to you. Well, first of all, we've already got a SPI over waypoint 1. We've got waypoint 1 in there, but no SPI symbology. Let's make a ad hoc SPI, shall we? So, let us assign SOI to HUD. Done. Let me manipulate TDC. Let me create a SPI. SPI created. And we can see now that there is no extra SPI symbology on there. There's still the waypoint 1, or we could have a waypoint 2, steer point 2, but no SPI. So that's a bit odd. And finally, when using an EXP or a DBS, so for instance, assign SOI, I'm gonna let that populate. If I were to move about the TDC now, we get an automatic update, as you can see. Again, I think the Hornet does that as well. SA342 Gazelle, new sand filter. Gazelle sands everything. Gazelle with IR deflector. Gazelle with sun filter. World War II assets pack added 4 new units. 4 World War II guns. 1 American, 3 German. First, American M2A1 105mm towed artillery piece. German Panzerabwehrkanone 40 75mm towed artillery piece. German LEFH-18 105mm towed artillery piece. German SDKFZ-124 Vespa 105mm self-propelled howitzer. Of the 4, I can drive that one there. Marianas added 9 new islands that extend 600 kilometers north of Saipan. We've got Anatehan, Saragan, Gugwan, Alamagan, Bargain, Agrahan, Assumption, Morg, and Farallon de Bajaros, and I apologise for those pronunciations. Added new non-paved airfield to Pargan Island. Added, apparently, breaking waves. And finally we move on to the Tomcat, the main feature of course of which is that now the Jester AI can work the Lantern Pod. Obviously this needs its own video. New, added backlighted digital engine instrument group EIG to the F-14B, replacing the original F-14A tape gauges. And there we have our EIG in the F-14 Bravo. It's essentially telling us the same things, but it's fancier backlit graphics. New engine malfunctions added to mission editor. So click on our F-14, go to failures. We have left and right engine fire, main spool seizure, turbine failed, slow oil leak, 1 hour moderate oil leak, 30 minutes severe oil leak, 2 minutes, compressor stall, pop stall, turbine overspeed, AFTC failure, AICS ramp fail open, ramp fail closed, ramp fail in position, and nozzle failure. New, added mission editor functions for better implementation of Jester AI in scripted missions environments through the addition of the set command value. And using this table of parameters in the few lines below, I'll show you how to go in and use one of these. So here's our mission with our F-14. At a certain point in this mission, we want Jester to shut the hell up because he's being annoying. I'm sure you can understand. So, trigger system, new, once, condition, time since is going to be time more than 1,000 seconds, new, X command with value. The command is going to be the command as shown in that table that allows us access to Jester's vocal cords. It's 10010 with a value of 1. Exit, confirm by going back in. So in this mission, this happens once 1,000 seconds has elapsed in the mission. The thing that will happen is a command will be sent to the F-14 module to set Jester to have a value of 1, which is silenced. And finally, major flight model accuracy and simulation improvement effort. We've been working closely with our SME for several months to perfect the F-14's handling and performance characteristics, and have now merged the first set of work in progress changes. Updated stores drag while mounted to the aircraft to correlate more closely with drag index data from performance manual and aerodynamic benefits of mounting stores in the tunnel. I guess that means wind tunnel. Updated flap and gear drag effect. Updated flap deploy rate. Updated speed brake drag. Updated overall airframe drag. Updated ram spillage drag. Updated inlet pressure recovery and extremes of the flight envelope. Fixes to stabilizer shift when activating DLC. Increased spool down response to power reductions on both engines. Fixed automatic maneuvering device deployment schedule. Updated F-110 performance required after airframe drag changes, and then the same with the TF-30 from the A model. Slightly increased stabilizer travel. Improved yaw SAS effectiveness. Slightly increased differential stabilizer roll power. Static stability adjustments. Adjusted gear pitch effect behavior. Adjusted flaps pitch eject behavior. Adjusted spoiler pitch effect behavior. Adjusted pitch with power. Adjusted TF-30 Mach lever RPM schedule. Adjusted MISC lateral directional handling / behavior. Adjusted longitudinal handling behavior. Again, I can't really quantify that for you now. We'll have to use the aircraft over the next few weeks and months and see how different she feels. That, valued viewers, is one big patch rounded up for you. Like I said, the things in red I'm going to make over the next few days in different videos because they require proper study. I hope you enjoy the new patch in open beta, and I'll see you later.